4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. You can always hit us up, 855-212-4CBS. That's 855-212-4227. Or you could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We have a loaded guest list for you, taking you up today all the way until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Coming up 20 minutes from now, the men's head basketball coach at Creighton. They had a huge win last night. Remember Greg McDermott's team last year? They did go all the way to the Elite Eight. Well, for the first time in program history, they have taken down the number one team in the country. That happened last night, as you did have Creighton beating UConn. Greg McDermott going to join us 20 minutes from now. In the 4 o'clock hour, we will have the newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Dwight Freeney, stops by. The commissioner of the NHL, coming off a very successful stadium series, Gary Bettman, is going to stop by for a few minutes at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, 1:20 p.m. Pacific. And we had to push back Winkler Wednesday. It's still going to be today on Wednesday, because we have to do it on Wednesday. But instead of his normal spot, we'll do Bart Winkler today at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific. Got Moist Mike and Stuart Kovacs with me, and away we go after all those programming notes. Alrighty, let's start the show actually with some audio. I will say this right out of the gate. I believe Nikola Jokic is the best player today in the NBA. Let's listen up to Jayson Tatum, though. He did an interview with Malika Andrews of ESPN, and that question of who is the preeminent player in the NBA did come up to Celtic superstar Jayson Tatum.
Who do you think is the best player in the NBA right now?
Myself.
Have you always had that kind of confidence? Because I asked you that question a year ago, and you said it was Giannis. So what's given you that confidence?
I got a lot of respect for a lot of guys in the league.
Yeah.
Giannis for sure. Jokic, obviously, just won. Embiid, guys that won MVPs. And the list goes on. The league is in a great place. I truly do believe every night I step on the floor, I'm the best player.
So I don't have a problem with Jayson Tatum saying he's the best player in the NBA, because he's in the conversation of top 5, top 10 players in the NBA. However you find a way to number your list, there is no way you can't put him outside of the top 10. Like, he has to be in the top 10. That's not even debatable. So when you're in striking distance of being one of the better players in the league and you're perceived to be a top 10, top 5 player in the league, I'm okay with you having confidence in your abilities and you saying that is your spot. Now, if this was someone who was like the 30th best player in the league, or if this was like Kyrie Irving, for example, who used to be one of the better players in the league, but he's no longer a top 10 player in the league. Like, if he said he's the best player in the league, I think we all roll our eyes at that. Or if like Klay Thompson, who years ago was phenomenal and now injuries have derailed his career, if he came out and said, hey, I'm the best player in the league, we would all have problems with that. But I think we could all agree, even though I don't think Jayson Tatum is the best player in the NBA, he has a right to say it because he's in striking distance. And we have seen in the last 10 to 15 years, the best player in the league baton be handed off, where it was LeBron for so many years, then it goes to Kevin Durant, then at times back to LeBron James, then back to Kevin Durant. For a little bit, you had Steph Curry, one of the greatest players of all time, making that case as well. And really after his latest championship, that's when Steph, even though Steph has already received an abundance of praise and deservedly so, that's when Steph started to get that tag as maybe being the best player in the league. But recently, I think this has become a two-man conversation, and that's with guys that have won multiple MVPs and also both recently have won NBA championships in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic. And for Giannis, he is a better defender than Nikola Jokic. Let's just address that right off the bat, right out of the gate. However, the reason why I go Nikola Jokic is even though you may have Giannis as a more prolific scorer, where Nikola Jokic's averages, 26.1 points per game. That's 13th in the league. And Giannis Antetokounmpo's 30.8, which is 3rd in the league. For me, what is the difference is how well-rounded from an offensive standpoint Nikola Jokic is. Because if you say who's the better, more well-rounded player, and you factor in, right, offense and defense, well, we all know offensively, Giannis Antetokounmpo, even though he doesn't have the best jump shot in the world and he doesn't have the best outside shot in the world, he is a phenomenal, unstoppable force on the offensive side of the ball, and his defense is just absolutely sensational. And this is a guy back in 2020 that won Defensive Player of the Year in the entirety of the NBA. But this is a league where I'm not trying to undermine defense because defense is so important, but defense doesn't need to be all the way at the top of the list for you to be the best player in the league. And I would say Giannis's biggest detractor, where I'm putting him as number 2 in the league. It's not like I'm slapping Giannis Antetokounmpo here. Heck, I love the guy. But Giannis's biggest detractor is the jump shot, where when you look at Nikola Jokic, his biggest detractor is defense. And I don't think Nikola Jokic is as bad as a defender as people make him out to be. Like, I think he's actually a solid defender. And because you have someone that's such a perfect specimen, we look at the minor weakness or the minor flaw in his game, and then we try to make it out to be worse than what it actually is. But when I evaluate Nikola Jokic, it's the well-rounded repertoire that he has on the offensive side of the ball. Because, yeah, if you just did points and rebounds, you would see Giannis has more points, 30.8, to Nikola Jokic's 26.1. Rebounding, Nikola Jokic has a slight edge. He's 4th in the league with 12 rebounds a game. Giannis Antetokounmpo's 11.2. That's 6th in the league. But the big disparity is what Nikola Jokic does passing the basketball too. Nikola Jokic, as a big man, is 8.9 assists per game. That's 4th in the league. Now, Giannis is still in the top 20 at 18th, but that's at 6.4. And when I try to see who is the tougher player to slow down, and whenever you have these conversations, let me just preface it by saying it's kind of like the GOAT conversation, where, and this is why I hate some of these conversations, but you have to have them. When you try to prop your guy up, then you have to talk negatively about the guy that you are picking against. And I'm not criticizing Giannis Antetokounmpo. I want to make that abundantly clear. Like, I'm not saying Giannis sucks, but sometimes it does come off that way. But for Giannis, even though he has made great strides at the charity stripe, you saw what he did to close out the NBA Finals, Bucks and six a few years ago, up against the Suns. He was magnificent at the charity stripe, and he did it both ways, offensively and defensively. When you look back at the stellar play from that Bucks lone championship with Giannis Antetokounmpo, but you know the deficiency in Giannis's game, even with the improvements, is the command of the jump shot and his jump shot not being great. When you look at Nikola Jokic, I don't know how you stop him. I really don't. And this was the confusing debate that we got into last year during their run. It's like, do you try to stop him from scoring or do you try to stop him from passing? That's what the debate became. And you could try to say, all right, let's take away his passing ability and let's try to contain everybody else and let him just go off and have 45 points, 50 points, but he's still capable of putting up those stellar numbers on a basketball court where he could go be the highest scorer on the court on any given night. So if that's the approach, you could go win a basketball game containing a lot of other guys, and you're not going to totally keep them off the board, and Nikola Jokic is going to go get his. But a lot of times then, people think you have to stop him individually, and then that elevates him so much more, because I really do believe Nikola Jokic gets more enjoyment off of dishing out the basketball and assisting the basketball compared to getting the individual praise of, oh, look at the big fella. He put up 40, 45 points on any given night. So it's a tough conversation to have, but in a league now where it's shooting, and we know that Nikola Jokic can shoot the basketball, we know Giannis Antetokounmpo has made strides in that department. It is funny to me, though, when you think shooting, right, you think players that are in the backcourt, and now we're talking about who's the best player in the league, and it's between two bigs in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic, who are untraditional players, and that's really what the league has turned into, where you have these enormous guys that you look at and you go, oh, there's no way that they're going to have a well-rounded game. And not only do they have a well-rounded game, they have a well-rounded game at an elite level. And also factoring into this conversation, now I'm not going to say he's the third best player in the league, but it goes off the big man conversation. It is Joel Embiid with what he does on the defensive side of the court and also on the offensive side of the court as well. So Jayson Tatum, he's not wrong for saying he's the best player in the league in terms of, I understand why he's saying that. He's in the conversation. So if you're in the conversation, it's like any year where you have a quarterback or a wide receiver who's perceived to be one of the best quarterbacks or wide receivers in the NFL draft. They always come out and they say, hey, I'm the best wide receiver. I'm the best quarterback in the draft. But like I remember when I was interviewing Gabe Davis, who's had a nice NFL career, and he's about to become a free agent, and it looked like he already said his goodbye to Buffalo. When Gabe Davis joins us and he says, oh, no, I'm the best wide receiver in the NFL draft, going back all those years ago when he said that to me, you kind of roll your eyes and you're like, you could say that, but no one's really going to take that argument seriously. Like, there is an argument to be made for Jayson Tatum, but when you fully delve through the list, I don't see how when you're doing a top 5 list in the NBA, how right now it does not start with one of these guys being 1 and the other being 2, with Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And for me personally, because of how much we put a priority on the offensive side of the game now, I think the well-roundedness, especially in the assist department, gives the edge in making it more difficult to slow down Nikola Jokic compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo, even though most teams can't find a way to slow down either. And wouldn't that be something this year? I know the Bucks are struggling right now. Denver's coming off a championship, but the Bucks are still, if you take out the Celtics, you would still say the Bucks have then the best chance to go to the NBA Finals. Wouldn't that be something if we could see coming up in June an NBA Finals between Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo? I think that would be one of the best things that could happen to the NBA this year if you get the two best players in the sport competing it out, first to 4, first to go win a second NBA championship, because both of their careers are very similar, both overlooked, both had a tremendous amount of success, then boom, both have won 2 MVP awards, and then both got clowned for their teams not going as far in the NBA playoffs. And we saw Giannis a few years ago break through, and just last year we saw Nikola Jokic break through and call themselves NBA champions. So who's the best player in the NBA? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We'll get to Greg McDermott in just a second, but I just want to open this up real quickly to my guys behind the glass, Samter and Stu. I'll start off with Samter. Who do you think is the best player right now in the NBA, if you just had to give me a name?
To me, it's Jokic, then Giannis. I don't even think Jayson Tatum's in the top 5.
Okay, so then who's 3, 4, and 5?
You're going Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, and then
Steph?
It could be Steph. I could still have LeBron in there. You can still have maybe Devin Booker, even KD when he's healthy. But I think maybe even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, the guy's been averaging 30 points a game for 2 straight years. The guy's a beast. So Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, and Luka for sure. And then there's like a plethora of guys that I would probably have Tatum in like that 7, 8, 9 range. Maybe even 10.
I would have to put him in my top 7. I still put him in my top 5. But he's definitely top 10, just with that natural scoring ability that he has. that you even saw in that closeout game where he just went off and he was unconscious up against the Philadelphia 76ers. Stu, who is your best player in the NBA?
For me, it's between Jokic and Giannis. I will give the slight edge to Giannis. I just think he's a better all-around player when you include the defense and everything. I'm in love with his game. I think he's just phenomenal. I think it's between those two.
Yeah, and that was what the difference was for me. It was defense, and then it was the assist, and I gave the edge to Nikola Jokic in the assist department just because it's a more offensive league now, and people care more about offense now come playoff time, just like how you do in the NFL. Then all of a sudden everyone starts caring about defense and running the ball, which for most of the year, no one in the regular season in the NFL cares about defense, and then we trash running backs an entire offseason. Who's the best player in the NBA? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Fresh off their program's first victory against the number one team in the nation, Greg McDermott of Creighton's going to stop by in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling on this Wednesday. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. We all remember Creighton's run to the Elite Eight a year ago. The Blue Jays had an enormous victory last night for the first time ever in their program's history. They have taken down a number one team in the country, defeating the number one UConn Huskies, who are the defending national champs, by a final score of 85-66. Now joining us is the head coach of the Creighton men's basketball team. He's been the HC since 2010, and that, of course, is Greg McDermott. Coach, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for making a few minutes, and congratulations after a big win for your program last night.
Well, thank you very much. It was a great night for our program and our community. The arena was absolutely hopping last night. It was a lot of fun for everybody involved, and a great win for our program, especially this time of year as you move closer to the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament.
We know this group is experienced. I'm not saying they needed more confidence, but when you get an enormous victory like that, does it just provide naturally some more confidence to your group?
I don't think there's any question, Zach. And we've won some road games this season against some good teams, and I think that in itself probably gives you more confidence than anything when you could go into a very difficult place at Nebraska, who hasn't lost a home game this year except to us, go into Butler, go into Seton Hall, and find ways to win. I think that validates a lot of things that you're doing on a daily basis on the practice floor. And, our home court's a great home court, and, we've been fortunate, to have a lot of success there. And last night certainly fell in line with that.
Like you said, your program has had a lot of success. People have a lot of respect for you and what you've done at Creighton, but you've been there now for at least over a decade, since 2010, to get that program's first win ever against a number one team in the nation. Just how do you kind of put that moment, especially being at home, into perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's historic. Anytime you're able to do something that's never been done, it's a really cool experience. I think for the guys on the team, they're never going to forget it. I think our fans that were at that game last night are certainly going to remember the experience last night. But it was a game between two really good basketball teams, and obviously UConn has certainly earned all the attention they've gotten this year in the number one ranking because of how well they've played. Danny's done an unbelievable job, retooling part of that lineup to get to the point where he's got a team capable of winning a national championship again. So we're really happy for our program, really happy for our guys and for our fans. But not surprised that we won. We felt like we had a good enough team to win that game.
Oh, were you surprised that you blew them out? That was a surprising part, right?
We shot it extremely well, and we knew we were going to have to. If you're going to make a living of challenging Donovan Clingan at the rim, it's going to be a long night. So we played more outside in than inside out than what, and usually Kalkbrenner's someone we try to establish. We try to establish the rim a little bit more. And we just stayed away from that last night and, tried to make him chase us around the perimeter. And then defensively, UConn's only scored under 70 points 4 or 5 times all season. Twice it's been against us. So we've had 2 defensive plans that have been executed by our guys that, at least are going to give yourself a chance against an elite offensive team.
Talking to Greg McDermott right now. You look at your 3 leading scorers from a year ago, all back, Shireman, Kalkbrenner, like you mentioned, and Alexander. They've all gotten better this season, and you see it from a statistical standpoint as well. What did you kind of challenge those 3 coming off the Elite 8 run a year ago to kind of do this offseason to get those results that we're seeing now?
Baylor went through the draft process 2 years ago before he transferred here when he left South Dakota State. So he had been through that process. And when he made the decision last year to come back for 1 more year, it actually was a surprise to me because when we recruited him, the plan was 1 year and he's going to go back to the draft. But Baylor really thought he could get better. He thought he could grow. He thought he could be more impactful if he added some strength to his body and really transformed his body, worked to get his shot off a little bit quicker, and then try to get a little bit more agile on the defensive end. And he's done that. And our conversations with Trey and Ryan throughout the draft process, as they were, trying to figure out what was going to be best for them and their career at that stage at that point in time. If you're going to come back, let's make sure we take advantage of it. Let's really work. Let's get better. Let's make sure that when we go on the floor in November, that everybody's seeing a better version of Trey Alexander and Ryan Kalkbrenner because of the work that you put in the offseason. And to their credit, they've both done it. And, those 3 have been terrific examples and mentors and leaders for this team. And then you add in Stephen Ashworth, who's a natural leader in his own right. We've been able to kind of grow as the season's gone forward.
Talking to Greg McDermott right now. His program got a victory last night up against number 1 UConn. So when you get all these guys back, it's awesome, but then it's a new year. And I think that's always tough when you have so much success, which you want, because everyone feels like not only do you have to replicate it, but you have to take it even a step further. How did you guys, once everyone came back, started to put what happened last year in the rearview mirror and not get people caught up too much in last year to make this year a little bit different?
We lost some pieces with Nembhard and Kaluma deciding to transfer. So, we had to replace them, with the portal and Stephen Ashworth, and then within our program at that power forward spot with Mason Miller, Isaac Trout transferred in from Virginia, and now Jason Green, who's playing really well. So I think our fans understood that it's probably going to take a little bit of time, but we were also, I believe, preseason top 10-ish a year ago. So, Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman, Ryan Kalkbrenner, they'd already been through that and understood that while it's nice to get the attention in the preseason and when you're playing bye games in November, December, it really doesn't mean anything. Like you have to hook it up. You have to really be married to daily improvement and daily growth if you want to be playing your best basketball in March. And so I don't think the expectations were a negative to this group at all. And, we played in a game last year against San Diego State where we're 1 possession away from the Final Four. And their focus has really been understanding and making sure the rest of the team understands the importance of 1 possession because we were 1 possession away from the Final Four. And if we get back in that spot, we want to try to kick that door down.
The transfer portal and NIL has changed the way of college basketball, college football, of college athletics. You mentioned Stephen Ashworth and some other transfers as well. It's kind of like speed dating to try to find the right fit for your program. You don't know if it's going to work. You hope it's going to work. When you guys are looking to bring in people via the transfer portal, how do you know if someone has a chance of being a right fit for your squad?
Yeah, I mean, for us, Isaac Trout, we recruited out of high school and, I'd recruited him for a few years. So we were very familiar with his skill set and, what we think he's going to be able to bring to our program long-term, which we're very excited about. When Nembhard decided to leave, it was a surprise. So when you try to fill in a spot like that, there's a lot of things at play. Certainly you need someone that's talented enough. But with us, because we play a very unselfish brand of basketball, the culture fit is really important as well. And finding someone that would complement Trey Alexander, not take away from Trey Alexander. So a ball-dominant point guard was not someone that we were in the market for because part of what we talked to Trey about when he went through the draft process is putting the ball in your hands more, showing people what a great decision maker you are. That was a little more difficult to do when he was on the floor with Ryan Nembhard. But it's really happened seamlessly with Stephen Ashworth. So, there's a lot of things that go into play. And, with us, it was finding the right person for that point guard position as much as the right player. And, Stephen Ashworth has been absolutely terrific.
You've adapted. I know there's been some legendary coaches in football and basketball to walk away recently, and a lot of people feel like that's because of the changes in the sport. At the age of 59, do you still love this sport? Do you still see yourself coaching for maybe another 5-10 years or more than that?
Yeah, I love practice. I love teaching, and that's why I got into it. I love the relationship piece of my job. And if we ever get to the point that it becomes all transactional, that's probably the point that, I really think about walking away if relationships don't matter anymore. But in our program, they do. And not just coaches' relationships with players, but it's our staff relationships, it's players' relationships with one another, and being able to put together a group of guys that truly likes to celebrate each other's success. And to me, that warms my heart in coaching when I see that teammates are really, really happy when something good happens to one of their buddies. So as long as we can keep accomplishing that and bringing in the right people, this has never really seemed like a job for me in the 35 years that I've done it. So I don't really want to start working now.
Do you feel like this is your last stop? Because I know the history with Ohio State, naturally your name gets thrown right at the top of their list with their vacancy. Do you think Creighton is your last stop as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, you never say never. Obviously I met with them the last time and had a tough decision to make at that time. But I've always said that, if I had my choice, it would be to end my career at Creighton.
And the last thing I'll ask you, Coach Greg McDermott here with us after his team's sensational victory over UConn. When you were going through all that madness when the game was ending, trying to get back to your locker room and all that euphoria is unfolding, just what was going through your mind in the moment, fresh right off that blowout victory?
Well, as you said, I'm 59 years old. I was trying to get the hell out of the way so I didn't get ran over. I'm not quite agile enough to dodge those bullets when those students come flying on the court. But, we haven't had many court storms during my time here. We've had a pretty good basketball team. So they're, the Seton Hall game in 2020 when we got a share of the Big East title was the last time we've had a court storm in our building. So it doesn't happen very often. And to see the joy on those students' faces, and there was a few adults out there jumping around as well, was pretty cool. But, the scene in the locker room to celebrate with a group of guys that has really given you everything that they have was really special and certainly a night I'll never forget.
Coach, your team's fun to watch. Excellent victory last night. Congratulations, and appreciate you. I know it's a busy day, making a few minutes for us.
Thanks, Zach. Anytime.
You got it. There he is, Greg McDermott, the head coach of the Creighton Blue Jays, off a very impressive victory last night up against Danny Hurley's squad, the defending national champions in UConn. And I can't wait for the Big East tournament, and I can't wait for March Madness as well. But that was a fun moment that kind of serves as an appetizer for all the mayhem that's going to go down in a few weeks. Okay, we'll take a timeout. We'll come on back. We got a few would you rather questions when it pertains to some NFL quarterbacks moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years. But let's get the latest CBS Sports Radio update in first with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today to find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. Veteran first baseman Eric Hosmer has called it a career, announcing his retirement after 13 seasons. The four-time Gold Glover won a championship with the Royals in 2015. The best matchup in college basketball tonight takes place in Tuscaloosa, where 13th-ranked Alabama welcomes number 24 Florida. Both come in at 18-7, while the Crimson Tide lead the SEC at 10-2. Their schedule down the stretch is a bear, with 4 of their final 6 opponents ranked. Head coach Nate Oates said his team is up for the challenge.
We've got the toughest remaining schedule of all the contenders in the SEC, so we're going to have to play well. So told our guys that, but it's, I think our non-conference schedules prepped us for this run. We're going to have to come out and play well.
Alabama has won 15 straight at home against conference opponents, and 7th-ranked Marquette will try to pad its win total against 3-22 DePaul. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is JR. Let's hang out weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio for my show, the JR Sport Brief, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Dwight Freeney, the newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is going to join us coming up 20 minutes from now. The commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, is going to stop by at about 4:20 p.m. Eastern time today, 1:20 p.m. Pacific. By the way, I came in later today in terms of getting ready for the show. Like, I was fully prepared for the show, but usually I get here at about 1 p.m. Eastern, maybe the latest 1:30 p.m. Eastern, as there's a few things that we have to do before the show. Today I texted Santa. I'm like, I'm not getting here until 2:30 p.m. Eastern time today.
Slacker.
Well, no, it has nothing to do with that. I just had an issue. And the issue that I had was, and it kind of came up in the YouTube chat, where Brian was bringing up the laundry rooms, and he's at a laundromat, I guess, right now. So my apartment complex is great. It has everything that you could want besides one thing: dryer washer in the unit. So it is a communal dryer washer, and they have about like 20 machines for the entire building, which is a good amount of machines. So I did the wash today when I got on the elliptical. And then when I got off the elliptical, which was after an hour, I then put the clothes in the dryer. So the clothes were in the dryer, let's just say from about 11:30. No, it's about 11 because I got there at 10 today. Yeah, I got there at 10 today, got off at 11. So put the clothes in the dryer at 11. So by 12, they would be ready. And by 12, they would be done. So I kind of slacked a little bit. And I didn't go back into the laundry room until 12:45, where I was expecting my clothes to be dried, all done. And then, boom, away we would go. I would go quickly fold them and then bolt over to the studio because I'm only about like 5 to 10 minutes from the studio for it to begin with. So when I go to open the dryer door, soaking wet the clothes. So the dryer either shut off 5 minutes in, or when I was pressing it, obviously there was something that maybe, and I've done this laundry now the same place for 4 or 5 years, you know, you have to hold down the button and then it started to go. I thought I heard it go off, maybe though it didn't. So I don't know. Either it shut off like a few minutes in or I didn't start it correctly. So then I'm panicking because I know that if I have to dry this for another hour, and thankfully it wasn't a lot of laundry, you know, I'm cutting it close here, like 2:30, 2:45, something like that. So I ended up 40 minutes or 35 minutes into the dry, since it wasn't a lot of clothes, going back downstairs, and then thankfully everything was dried. So I was able to then get here a little bit earlier than normal. So that was my mismanagement today. The dryer wasn't cooperating in my apartment complex.
You know, they have these great services in the city of picking up, and you know, you don't have to worry about washing it, drying it, or folding it. They pick it up, they wash it, they dry it, then they re-deliver to you, and they fold it back up for you. And just
it's a sore subject.
Why did you have an incident where they ruined your clothes?
Not only did they ruin my clothes, they lost my clothes.
Wow.
I used this service for a year because I don't like doing laundry.
Nobody does.
I used this service for a full year. And one day they lost it. They barely reimbursed me. They gave me like a minimal reimbursement. And now the guy that did the service, he used to be across the street. His place, he shut down his place, and now he runs his laundry establishment out of our building. So this guy, let's just say, and I'm very patient, but when you basically tell me it's my fault that they lost the clothes and you didn't want to reimburse me after a 4-month process, I may have lost my cool a little bit. And now I see this guy every day because he's there 7 days a week in the lobby of my apartment. So that's why I do not send my clothes out, because it got lost last time. There's another place, but it's about a 6 or 7 block walk, and they will return the laundry to you, but you have to bring it there when you have a big bag of laundry. And there's a lot of tourist attractions around me, to say the least. in New York City, it's not the easiest to schlep a big bag of laundry around all these people that are just looking up and looking at the sight lines of the city. So that's my sensitive topic.
I'll accept that. I've heard a lot of horror stories about some of these pickup drop-off services.
So what do you think's more embarrassing for Justin Fields, by the way, before we get to this Would You Rather? Justin Fields revealed to the St. Brown brothers why he unfollowed the Bears on Instagram. He basically just said, actually, do we have that audio? Just one we do? Let's play that audio. This is Justin Fields, courtesy of the St. Brown brothers podcast, on why he unfollowed the Bears on social media.
What's with the unfollow with the Bears? What's up with that?
Man, bro, I'm glad we're talking about it because why do people take social media so serious?
But like, why you unfollowing the Bears?
Like, I still mess with the Bears. I'm just trying to take a little break. I unfollow the Bears and the NFL, bro. I'm not just trying to have football on my timeline. Like, I know y'all mess with a girl, EQ, especially you. Just because you don't follow the girl on IG don't mean you're not messing with her.
That's true.
You
That's
know?
true. That's facts. That's facts. Oh, so you're saying you mess with the Bears more now that you unfollow them?
Man, it's not even like that.
Okay,
It's something that I don't want to see in my timeline. I'm about to go on vacation. I don't want to see no football. And guess what?
Just get a little away for a little bit.
It's either keep Fields. We want Fields. To drive Caleb. So it's like, bro, man, I'm tired of hearing the talk. I just want it to be over.
So here's the thing, and maybe this is a technicality. You got to know that this is going to be a story and some loser's going to find that you unfollowed the Bears from social media. Why not just use the mute button? The mute button is one of the greatest inventions ever because someone could keep on tweeting or Instagram posting to you. You'll never see it. And you just mute the person and you don't have to deal with their crap and they don't know that you basically unfollowed them, even though you didn't unfollow them by muting them. But they don't know that you didn't do that. And they think you're still following them, and then you're just ignoring them. So I don't get why Justin Fields just didn't mute the Bears and mute the NFL. And also, you could have just deleted your Instagram app. You're going on vacation for a week, 2 weeks. Just delete the app. Who needs it? Like, I'll be on social media a little bit when I'm in Orlando, starting tomorrow, and then I'm in Puerto Rico next week, starting on Thursday. But I'm not going to be that active on social media. But I think that's kind of weak. That Fields unfollowed the Bears and unfollowed the NFL, and he's just like, oh, yeah, the reason I did that is because I'm going on vacation. I don't want to see that crap. Just mute them. That's the miscalculation there, Samter. All you have to do is just mute them.
Yeah, and the reality is by taking off the Bear stuff from your feed doesn't mean that you're not going to see
someone's still going to post
Williams, Bears, trade Justin Fields stuff. It just means they're not going to see your Bear stuff. So I don't understand what the difference is. Like, either if you're on social media, you're going to catch all the stuff. You're going to catch all that heat. So it makes no sense to me. It's the worst excuse I've ever heard. It's absolutely nonsense. So Justin Fields is gone.
Man, why are you so forceful with that? We all knew he's getting traded anyway.
Well, honestly, I didn't think 100% that he was getting traded. Yeah. I thought that there was a chance that if like some team came with like a multi-first-round pick offer, like a 3 first-round pick type offer, because they really wanted Kalen Williams, and they can move back and still get Marvin Harrison Jr. or like a star and just build a depleted roster out and keep Justin Fields, then I thought that maybe it was a possibility.
Made sense, but
once he took them off his social, it's done.
Yeah, but once you start overly praising your player, that's the writing on the wall that it's not going to be a reunion. So Carl Dukes, who I love in Atlanta, he's become a friend, and he does some work for us here on the weekends on CBS Sports Radio. He responded to this video that was put out with Justin Fields responding, and he said, come on, Justin, I still mess with the Bears. That's like saying you used to holla at a chick like you used to kick it with her. Bring him home. Now, I responded to Carl Dukes going off of this. Fields can also look at the Falcons as the girl he wanted to be with but got rejected, and now years later, that girl's begging for him to go out with her. Because that's basically what happened in the draft. Back in that 2021 draft, the Falcons could have taken Fields at 4. They elected to go Kyle Pitts, and now, according to Jordan Schultz, who was on with us yesterday, there is buzz that is building throughout the league. Buzz. Sounds like Samter when he talks a little bit. There is buzz building throughout the league that Justin Fields could be traded to the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll see if that ends up happening. Anywho, let's get to a few would you rathers here for quarterbacks in the future for, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years. Samter has compiled a little bit of a list. I'll give you my answers right now.
All right, so if Patrick Mahomes is number one, these two guys are probably 2 and 3 in the NFL as far as quarterbacks. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, who would you rather?
I'd rather have Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. The only concern about Joe Burrow is the durability because in 4 years in the NFL, 2 of them, he's had season-ending injuries. Josh Allen, for the most part, has been healthy, and he's been able to play all the games. But for me, I just think Burrow's more of a winner, so I'll roll the dice with Joe Burrow.
All right, now we're looking at the NFC East. Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts?
This is a great one.
This is a tough one.
I'm going Jalen Hurts, and it's just because of the upside. Dak has clearly had more time. He's been the more consistent player, but I don't think Dak has ever been viewed the way that Jalen Hurts has been viewed, where Jalen Hurts was perceived to be, 1 or 2 last year in terms of the quarterback rankings, right? He took a team to a Super Bowl, and also let's remember, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. They lost the game, but he outplayed Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage. Now, Hurts has to reel it back in. Hurts has to get back to that level. I don't know if he can, but we know Dak's ceiling is just being a very good quarterback. Jalen Hurts showed he could be an elite quarterback in this league. So I will take the gamble of the unknown for the potential payout with Hurts rather than Dak Prescott, who I pretty much know everything there is to need to know about the Dallas Cowboys quarterback.
So these are two guys that you definitely don't know everything you need to know about them because one's only had 1 year in the league. The other one hasn't even played it down yet. Mm-hmm. But C.J. Stroud, who Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Caleb Williams, the likely number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, it's Stroud because I've seen him play at an elite level in the NFL. Now, I know people say, oh, well, Caleb Williams hasn't played in the league yet. Totally understand it. Some people are drawing comparisons to Patrick Mahomes, to Caleb Williams. I'm not willing to go there yet, but we know the way that Caleb Williams can extend the play, and the play is never over with Caleb Williams. But this past year, I thought USC, and it wasn't all on Caleb Williams, more on Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch. I thought that team was underwhelming, and I saw Stroud exceed all expectations this year. So since already seeing Stroud play at a high level and Caleb Williams expected to be great, but how many times are there generational players that don't get to be generational players and either good or bust? I will go with the guy that I've already seen play at the NFL level, and that's C.J. Stroud.
All right, now this one I think is a gimme after what we saw in the playoffs, but earlier in the season may have been a little bit easier or tougher. Jordan Love or Tua Tagovailoa?
Easily Jordan Love here.
But 2 months ago, I think it would be a much more difficult conversation.
Sure, I don't think Tua is a franchise quarterback. I think Tua has limitations. I think he's good. Love showed in that playoff game that he could be great in those 2 playoff games, even though he made the mistake at the end. Once again, I'll take the higher ceiling player, and I think the higher ceiling player is Jordan Love.
All right, how about Trevor Lawrence to Deshaun Watson?
I will go Trevor Lawrence because I can't trust Deshaun Watson off the field. And also, we haven't seen for a long time, now it's 3 or 4 years, Deshaun Watson go back to that form because of the suspension and then also the injuries as well. So I will go with Trevor.
Last one real quick, Purdy or Goff?
Oh, this is a good one. I'm going Brock Purdy. I'm taking Purdy because I trust what's around him more than I do with the Lions, who have built a really impressive team. But we did see Brock Purdy lead that comeback, and I know it wasn't really like Goff's fault, but the Lions did choke that away, so I'll go Brock Purdy.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
And away we go. Hour number 2 of our radio program. We have a jam-packed hour number 2. Dwight Freeney, the newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is going to join us coming up in a matter of seconds. And then in 25 minutes from now, the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, will stop by. Last year, I guaranteed Dwight Freeney on this show that he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And when he didn't get in, I felt terrible, and I wanted to punch everyone that votes for the Hall of Fame in the face because I couldn't believe it that they screwed him over. And it's not like I'm a Colts fan. I've said this before. Since I'm a Patriot guy, the Colts have been my least favorite team in the NFL, but I've always had respect for the way that Dwight Freeney played the game at a dominant level. And now a year later, we're very happy to say that Dwight Freeney is the newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he joins us right now. Dwight, first and foremost, congratulations. Thanks for the time, and how you been?
Good, man. How you been?
Well, I've been fantastic, and I was so elated to see the news, and it was long overdue. Now, they put out the video. That's become the best part when someone gets in the Hall of Fame. It's how they surprise that person. You had Coach Dungy, Michael Jordan, and your wife surprise you that you got in the Hall of Fame. Relive that for me.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, my wife lied to me the entire week. I mean, I can't believe she can keep a secret like this. I mean, and Michael, I'm good friends with MJ, and his golf course, right, is a great course. One of the great parts about the course is you don't really have many rules. You know, the only rule is just don't be slow, don't be a jerk, let guys through when they come to you, right? So you can wear whatever you want. So every day, my outfit pretty much is like T-shirt and shorts. You know, might wear flip-flops, who knows? But I'm really, really casual. So leading up to that week of when I was going to find out, Michael says, hey, I got a photo shoot next week, and I need you to dress up nice for it. You know, and I'm like, oh, God, I got to dress up. Here we go, you know. So I dress up getting ready for his photo shoot, and I walk to the door, and I thought in my peripheral, I said, was that Coach Dungy inside? Wow, that doesn't make any sense. I open the door, Coach Dungy sitting right there, the biggest smile on his face, and I see my wife, I see MJ cracking up in the back. I said, man, I take pride, honestly, in not being that guy who gets caught in by surprise. Or man, I had no clue, absolutely none.
That's absolutely awesome. Who has the better golf game, by the way? Is it you or MJ?
He does. He has 30 years of experience over me. That's what I tell him. That's what I tell him.
So I always see, following you on social media, you guys, as you said, you're very close. You play a lot of golf together. How did you guys formulate this relationship?
It was actually through the game of golf, you know, which is an amazing sport. You know, it's the only sport you can get a guy who's from a completely demographic, completely different. You know, you can have a 20-year-old playing with a 75-year-old doing the same game. But I met on the golf course in 2003. He invited me to his golf invitational in the Bahamas. One of his best friends lived in Indianapolis, and me and his best friend got cool. So whenever he was going on a trip, wherever, you know, they'll call the young kid on, hey, tell Dwight to come on, you know, grab the bags, let's go. And that's what it was. You know, it started way back in 2003, 2004. And we've been, you know, that's my big brother, man. We've been best friends ever since.
Talking to the Pro Football Hall of Famer, that has a nice ring to it, Dwight Freeney. Has that settled in yet? Has that sunk in? When you hear people call you a Pro Football Hall of Famer, what's the emotion that it elicits?
Man, it really hasn't. It's like I'm still living a dream right now. I'm like on cloud nine. It's just I don't want to come down. And it's funny, it's like you're waiting for the come down, and there is none. It just keeps going like this every single day. You know, you get this, you get that. Someone says, congratulations. You can't even believe it. Then you start thinking about what you had to do to get here and all the people who helped you get to this point. You know, and you kind of get misty-eyed thinking about all the sacrifices and all the stuff. So, you know, it's just one of those things where it's a lifetime achievement. There is no higher achievement in the game of football, and I achieved it.
You got screwed last year. You should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. I saw some of the emotions that you displayed, and Mike kind of told the honesty part of that with some of the videos that they've released. What was the last year like? Because there's nothing else you could have done. Your career was over for years. Everyone knew you should have been a Hall of Famer, but how was it handling that year of not getting in?
Oh, man, it was terrible. It was terrible. I think, you know, for me, I think a pretty decent job of only worrying about things that you can control. And, you know, leading up to there, I promise you, I was not worried about it. I wasn't thinking about it. I had the blinders on. I was staying focused on whatever else I was focusing on until guys like you, guys like, you know, Michael Strahan and Jason Taylors and the Bruce Smiths, they see me and say, hey, you are a shoo-in this year. I'm just telling you now, I'm congratulating you now before the actual announcements made. So once that happened, you start thinking, man, you know what, I might have a chance. You know, everybody's kind of saying, you know, I'm a shoo-in this year. And that's where I slipped up because I started really caring about it. And when I didn't get the call, it crushed me because I was expecting, hey, this is it, first ballot, and it didn't happen. So this entire year leading up, I promise you, I couldn't tell you who was in the semifinalists, the finalist list. I completely shut myself off. That's why when Tony was in there, I promise you, I knew it was around the time, but I didn't know exactly when. I wasn't really focused on it, man. I was ready to go hit some golf balls. I was so surprised.
Talking to the Hall of Famer and Dwight Freeney, you know, I brought you up, and I know you know him well. I had Antonio Gates on the day after the announcement came, and it was a similar story. Everyone thought Antonio Gates was a shoo-in, and you could just tell talking to him in person how heartbroken he was. Just what advice would you give to someone like Antonio, who we all know is going to get in, but has to deal with being told he is going to get in and then didn't get in on the first try?
I mean, I would just tell him, look, man, you can't control this process. And, you know, yes, it sucks that you don't have the first ballot next to your name. There's no going back. You can't go back in time and fix it. So you might as well just find a way to get over it. And once you get in, you're just like everybody else. And I promise you, you're going to forget about the fact, you know, somewhat that you weren't first ballot, you know, but I promise you, you're going to feel great. Your family's going to feel great. And, you know, it'll be just like, you know, like it never happened. All right. So don't worry.
How do you want people to remember your career, and what do you want people to know about your story, since the football part of it is wrapped up, seal signed and delivered, and now you get the highest honor of going in the Hall?
Well, you know, I think for me is, you know, a couple of things. I think one, you know, I played the game, I think, the way that it was supposed to be played. And I played it hard. I played every play for the most part like it was my last. And I gave it all. And the game has given me so much. I wanted to respect the game in that way, where I gave as much as it's given me, or tried to, and respect the game. I think that's one. And I think the other thing is, you know, it's just, for me, you know, never listen to the noise, you know, just, you know, and if you're going to listen to it, use it as fuel. You know, my whole thing was, hey, you know, you're from Bloomfield, Connecticut. No guys come out of there. No guys get to the Pro Football, you know, Hall of Fame from there, or even more. Let's bring it down. People don't go to D1 schools from there, you know, and you're too small. You shouldn't be playing defensive end. You should be playing linebacker, you know. So I kind of used all of those things. You know, he shouldn't have been drafted so high. You know, he's a tweener. He doesn't, you know, he'll only play on third down, et cetera, et cetera. So I think for me, it's, you know, I use that as fuel, you know, and just played the game as hard as I could possibly do it. Who
was the lineman, and then who was the quarterback that just gave you fits in preparing for them?
Well, I played, you know, what's funny is that I played in, I think, the golden era of the offensive tackle. I think that there was more Hall of Famers from my generation: Walter Jones, Willie Rofe, Orlando Pace, Jonathan Ogden, you know, Joe Thomas. You know, those guys are all guys I played. But I think out of all of them, I think is really Jonathan Ogden. I think Ogden was just, you know, he was a mountain of a man. There was never, you know, how when you're rushing the passer, you have the corner. And we call the corner is when you can run around the guy and get to the quarterback. So you run out on outside speed rush. There was no edge to him. He was so long, and it was just like I kept running. I'm looking for the corner. There is no corner. He's a mountain. So the only thing I had is be able to spin inside.
And he's the nicest dude now. He always has a smile on his face.
Oh, my goodness. I would never want to get him mad. Seriously.
And how about the quarterback?
You know what? For me, I hated playing. You know, look, I love playing against guys who used to run and scramble in the backfield, because it gave me opportunity to get there, right? But when you play against guys like Tom Brady, the reason why I didn't like playing against him as much is because he threw the ball so quick. It was like ready, set, hike. And by the time I even thought about, I can beat my guy completely clean, and the ball's gone. So it'll be like 30 passes, 27 of those passes, they're throwing 3 yards and 4 yards and 5 yards. So it doesn't really give me an opportunity to get there. And then that one time, that one opportunity to get there, you have to make sure you win, because it's going to get you. You'll be there for the sack if you can ever get there. But that's the whole thing with him.
And before we let the Pro Football Hall of Famer Dwight Freeney run, based off that answer, usually when someone wins a Super Bowl, that's their most memorable moment. But I've always thought, because of what that Patriot-Colt rivalry meant, you guys beating them in the AFC Championship game, that to me was basically the Super Bowl. No disrespect to Chicago. Was that your favorite career moment? Just wondering.
It's like 1A and 1B. Honestly, it's that close. I think emotionally, it was that moment, right? Just because we couldn't get past the Patriots. We couldn't get into the Super Bowl. And like you said, no disrespect to the Bears, but when we got there, we knew we were going to win. It wasn't even a question in our mind. Devin Hester, fellow Hall of Fame classmate, runs it back the very first time he touches the ball. I don't think anybody was worried on our sideline. It's just because we felt like, look, okay, we won't kick them the ball anymore. What else do they have, right? And we kept going in that fashion. But to beat the Patriots, that thorn in the side, that bear on our back, those feelings and those emotions, it will always stay with me forever.
It wasn't my fault, but our show started up some controversy a few weeks ago. We had Micah Parsons on, and he said TJ Watt isn't a top 5 pass rusher in the league, and it's been a very contentious debate on who the best pass rusher is in football. Some people look at Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons. There's a bunch of others. To you, since you were a stud at it, who is the best pass rusher in football right now?
I mean, it's not an easy thing. I think they're so different. I think I like Myles Garrett, and just because the moves that he works and how dominant he's been for so long. You can move him on each side. He can bull rush it. He has length. He can use a spin move. He's like he's a bigger version of me with a little mix of Mike. I love them all, though. I think Mike is a beast. His motor and his energy and his effort gives him more of a maybe an edge over someone else who just has a lot of numbers. But I think those guys, talking once again 1A and 1B. But if I had to say, I would give it to Myles Garrett.
He is the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Dwight Freeney. Dwight, so happy for you and your family. Thanks so much for doing this, and all the best.
All right, man. Thank you for having me. You take care.
You got it. There he is, Dwight Freeney, one of the best pass rushers of all time. Now, this summer, going to be enshrined in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. The commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, will join us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show on this Wednesday right here, but where else? CBS Sports Radio. Let's go out to the guest line right now and welcome in the commissioner of the NHL, and that, of course, is Gary Bettman, who's kind enough to join us once again on the show. Commissioner, always great to see you. Thanks so much for doing this, and how you been?
I've been great, Zach, and it's always good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm in a great mood. A successful Stadium Series. My Rangers have won 8 in a row, taking care of the Stars last night. That was a fun scene at Madison Square Garden. But let me start you off with the Stadium Series. Was extremely successful. Once again, how do you look back at those two games?
You know, that was our 40th and 41st outdoor games. They've all been massive successes. All sold out, fan reaction terrific, players love it. But these two, we've never done two games within 24 hours. And to think that we put roughly 150,000 people in MetLife Stadium within 24 hours. We had a concert with the Jonas Brothers. We had 2 terrific games, including what your Rangers did coming back on Sunday. It was a great weekend, and all the feedback we've gotten from our partners, our fans, and the players has been terrific.
But we've seen, obviously, the Winter Classic be extremely successful for you guys. These other series, though, as well, going outside. Something I saw after the weekend of Flyers and Devils and Rangers and Islanders, especially with the proximity of all 4 of those teams, is, man, maybe we could get this every year or maybe every few years. Is that something that you would entertain?
Every team, every marketplace, every fan base that gets one of these games and has a huge success, as they all are, they say, oh, we should do this every year. That doesn't work. What makes it so unique and so special is that we don't do it every year. And I have no doubt at some point we'll come back. Actually, the next Winter Classic, we're going back to Wrigley, but this isn't something you could do every year.
Yeah, you guys have some great locations coming up. Like you said, you're going back to Wrigley. I saw you announce the Horseshoe, right? Ohio State Buckeye Stadium. You're going to see Red Wings in Columbus March 1st of 2025. Take me through the planning of this. Like, we know some venues are just iconic and it's a dream to go play there. But when you're planning this, what do you kind of look for as the commissioner of the NHL? Gary Bettman is here with us.
You mean you don't think we use a dartboard?
Well, you've been the master of this, Commissioner. You've really mastered the outdoor game.
So the answer to your question is it's very opportunistic. We need a good venue. NFL stadiums for the Winter Classic don't work anymore because of the length of the NFL season. And so we've got to pick a different type of venue for the Stadium Series. We also try to periodically play a game in Canada. And we look at a variety of factors, where we've been, where the All-Star game is going to be or has been, where the draft has been or going to be. And we try to move it around in a place where it makes sense on the calendar for us and for the place that we're going. And so it's not an exact science. There's a little bit of touch and feel artistry to it. I'm not the artist. My events people are. But at the end of the day, we've now, again, having now done 41 of these games, there's kind of an ebb and flow to how we do these. And we try to do it in a way where we think it'll be special and impactful and give people who haven't had an opportunity to be a part of one of these to actually enjoy one in person.
Is there still a stadium that you guys haven't done yet that you say, okay, that's right at the top of the list that I would love to do?
There's none at the top of the list, and if I mention some, it'll set off a wave of speculation. But there are a couple of iconic stadiums. There are even a couple of locations that people have said, you did such a great job during COVID at Lake Tahoe. Why don't you do another iconic, beautiful setting without fans? Which I don't really love, because our players in our game really draw energy off of the in-person experience that we have. So there's no shortage of suggestions. And again, we try and look at this in a way, okay, let's go out a year or two. Let's see what makes sense. What can we have fun with? And again, going to the Horseshoe, the Ohio Stadium, is a good example. Columbus hasn't been in an outdoor game. And so this gives them an opportunity to be a participant in an outdoor game, the Blue Jackets, and at the same time give us an opportunity to follow up 150,000 people over 24 hours with 100,000 people all at once.
Talking to the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, I'll make one suggestion. What about Arrowhead with the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium? That would be some scene with the barbecue tailgates right before the game and then going into that iconic stadium.
That's an interesting suggestion, and people have also suggested going to Lambeau. We tend to focus on where we have our teams because that's where I think we can have the greatest impact. And so, I've heard it, and I'm sure we'd be successful wherever we go, but we really try and bring it to the places where most of our fans are, and that's where our teams are based.
I got a chance when I was in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl to go to the Golden Knights Stadium. Man, what a show they put on. Even before the game starts, where you had the Knights going up against the Oilers, and the Oilers' streak got stopped, which was an incredible hockey game. But just before the game, that stadium is just awesome in Las Vegas.
Two things. Now that I see the Kansas City hat sitting behind you, I'm not surprised that you suggested Arrowhead.
I'm not a Chiefs fan, by the way, Commissioner, just to be clear.
What's that hat doing there?
We were at the Super Bowl. They've won. Sometimes you know this, running things. You got to do things, even though if you may not love the team, you may have to just support them.
You just told me you're a Rangers fan. Go put a hockey hat back there. I believe that the Vegas Golden Knights have redefined what game presentation is. And I think it's raised the bar for everybody in every sport. And I'm not surprised that that was your experience, because everybody who goes there to a game for the first time is completely blown away by what they see. But maybe even if not more important is the fans in Vegas, the people who live there. The bulk of the people who go to every game love being in that environment and watching their Golden Knights play at home.
Now, every sport is now trying to get to Las Vegas. When it first started, everyone was like, oh, how are they going to find a way to make sure that gambling wasn't going to be an issue? I know that we're never fully past that because it's always something that people talk about, but it doesn't seem like it's been as big of a deal and as complicated as what people thought, right?
Well, first of all, there's sports betting in lots and lots and lots of places all over North America now. Actually, I thought what you were going to say is when we first went there, people were being cynical and skeptical because they were saying Las Vegas can't support a major league sports team. And in fact, people were very skeptical. I will say even a little critical of the decision we made. And now everybody, having seen our experience with the Golden Knights, says, oh, this is the greatest sports place in the world. We got to be there, which is gratifying, I suppose, on some level.
Wrap it up with the commissioner of the NHL, and Gary Bettman is always great with us when he joins us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. The NBA didn't have a very successful All-Star weekend. Where are you at with all your All-Star game festivities? Just wondering.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the NBA pro or con, but we had a terrific All-Star weekend in Toronto. We extended it an extra night, so we had 3 sold-out buildings. The first night, we had the fantasy draft, the tribute to the 67 Leafs, and most importantly, a modified game with women All-Stars from the PWHL, the new Women's Professional League. It was spectacular. The second night, we had the skills competition, and it was redesigned with the input from the players, and it got huge positive reviews in terms of the players, the stars who participated, the effort that they put into it, and the format that we used that wasn't gimmicky in the slightest. It was really traditional skills being exhibited. And as you know, a number of years ago, we changed our all-star format to have a mini tournament 3-on-3, which emphasizes the speed and skill of our game. And the players participate because the winning team gets $1 million. And when you get to the third game, the final of that little tournament, the players go all out to try and win. We had a lot of guests.
I think the commissioners just froze on us via Zoom, but the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, is with us. We'll hopefully try to reconnect and get him back up soon. Had a few more things that I wanted to ask him about. We'll see if that's going to be possible as we are right here on CBS Sports Radio. And obviously, the outdoor games for hockey have been extremely successful. And what you just got to see this past weekend, you pack a football stadium like MetLife Stadium, and you get 80,000 people like that. It was absolutely surreal from one night to the next. Stu obviously was at the Devils game, and then I knew a lot of people that were at the Rangers-Islanders game, and you couldn't get a perfect script with there being so many Rangers fans in attendance for that, and then what did transpire as well with how that game did finish. So we'll see if we could get the commissioner of the NHL and Gary Bettman hopefully back up momentarily, but if not, we always do appreciate the time with the commissioner of the NHL. I had a few more things that I wanted to ask him, especially about what's going on with the stadium, with the Coyotes. I just wanted to see if we get a few things in there for some of our listeners that are on listening to us in the Phoenix area. So we're going to try to reconnect, hopefully momentarily, with the commissioner of the NHL in Gary Bettman. But before we do that, This past Sunday, Popeyes fans watched the perfect pairing, a Popeyes commercial during the big game, and their new lineup of crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside wings. Order any of their 5 delicious flavors today. As we are here right now, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. Should we take a break? Do you want me to take a break here and come on back, or you want me to keep on stalling here for a few minutes till we get the commissioner coming back on? Yeah, I see the commissioner's trying to reconnect, so let's just keep it here on CBS Sports Radio. And there's a few more storylines, obviously, that we could take a look at when you look at the future of the NHL with the just success and the unbelievable career so far of Connor McDavid and what we've seen so far in year one, even after the injury with Connor Bedard. And obviously, you still got Ovechkin and Crosby playing in the NHL. We never thought Wayne Gretzky's record of most goals ever would be beat. Alexander Ovechkin is closing in on that. He's going to need next year to break it. But those are some of the big storylines right now, obviously, in the NHL. And just a wonderful product. And if you guys know me listening to this show for so many years, I am a just massive fan of the NHL. And nothing beats playoff hockey as well. So hopefully we can reconnect momentarily with the commissioner of the NHL in Gary Bettman. And I think we have been able to reconnect with them. So, Commissioner, appreciate you jumping back on board with us. I just want to ask you about a few players before we let you run. Connor Bedard, I know he's coming back from the injury, but he has had such a great respect by his peers so far, what he's been able to do. How about the impact that Connor Bedard's been able to bring to your game?
First of all, when we got cut off, I was extolling the virtues of Toronto and the Maple Leafs being great hosts for our All-Star festivities and the fans. It couldn't have been a better weekend, and so we're grateful for that. To answer your question, there's a lot of interest. You know, we've got a league that seems to be skewing younger and younger with great stars, whether it's Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and the list goes on and on. I think it's a good time in terms of the talent. I believe that something like half of our highest scoring players are under the age of 25. And so when a new player, young player, skilled player like Connor Bedard comes into the league, it's great for fans everywhere. And I know there's a lot of interest in seeing him.
Yeah, one of my producers is a big Devils fan, and he's in love, obviously, with Jack Hughes. And to hear what the great one, Wayne Gretzky, had to say before the start of the season about Jack doesn't get much better than that.
Well, it's not just Jack. It's Luke and it's Quinn. I mean, think about that family. And it's incredible the success that the three Hughes brothers are having, and it's very exciting. And I know Devils fans who had a good night on Saturday night at MetLife are thrilled at the prospect of this team for the future.
Alexander Ovechkin, he's going to need next year, but he's closing in on breaking a record that no one thought was ever going to be broken with the most goals ever in Wayne Gretzky. Since that is not that far away, just how do you process it? Obviously, knowing the great history of this game.
He is an amazing player. Not only his skill and his passion for the game, but his durability has been incredible. He scored again last night, I believe. And while he got off to a little bit of a slow start this season, he seems to be back on track. And it's going to be fun to see him make a run at the record, as you said, nobody ever thought would be broken.
We are on in the Phoenix area right now as we're talking to the commissioner of the NHL and Gary Bettman. What do you say to Coyotes fans when they ask, where the heck are we going to be playing hockey for the foreseeable future?
Alex Morello is committed to the Coyotes. He's committed to the greater Phoenix area, and he's working very hard on securing a parcel of land that will enable him to build the arena and his overall development. It was surprising and frankly unfortunate that the referendum in Tempe went down, I think, by 2,000 votes. That was a great opportunity for the Coyotes. And it was a great opportunity for the city of Tempe to have not only a new state-of-the-art development project and arena, but to remediate what has been a waste dump for decades But we move on, and Alex is trying his best to get this all resolved as quickly as possible.
Is there at all any timeline? I know you said as quick as possible. Is there a date that you'd like to have this all finalized by?
There's a process going on with the state of Arizona, and that'll put it onto a sequence timing that hopefully will ultimately result in the acquisition of a great piece of property.
On the way out with the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, who's here with us on CBS Sports Radio. How much longer, by the way, do you plan on being the commissioner? I saw Rob Manfred said the other day when his contract's up, this is going to be his last one. How about for you?
You're looking to get rid of me? What kind of question is that?
I actually think your popularity has just only grown throughout the years, Commissioner. I think you've become more popular.
As they say, you can't fall off the floor. But at the end of the day, I love what I'm doing, and as long as I have the energy, the passion, and the clubs, the owners are happy with what I do for them, and I'm going to keep doing it. Everybody makes these types of decisions for very personal reasons. For me, I'm thrilled to continue doing what I'm doing.
Last thing I'll ask you, and then we'll let you run, as you've been great with us, Commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman. The Olympics, I love that we're getting the NHL players back in the Olympics. Just give me a minute or two on that decision, how you guys came about to it.
People tend to forget that NHL players never went to the Olympics until I became commissioner. And then we went, and going to the Olympics in terms of our season is a bit of a mixed bag. I don't have to go into all the reasons. People have heard me say it. The primary focus for us in terms of going back to the Olympics is it was important to our players. We have the most international player pool of any of the major sports, the four majors in North America. And our players, our sport has a history of players representing their countries. That was very important to them. So we've now decided with the Players Association, next season, our in-season tournament will be a Four Nations tournament, four-nation face-off among Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the U.S. The next year, 26, we'll go to the Olympics. 28, we'll do a World Cup, a full World Cup. 30, we'll go back to the Olympics. And then 32, we'll do another World Cup. So we're laying out a long-term schedule of best-on-best international competition, and I think it's going to be great, and our players are thrilled to be doing it.
Well, it's great to hear. Commissioner, once again, congratulations on a successful stadium series. Thanks so much, and we'll continue watching and enjoying the NHL season.
Great, and thank you for having me.
You got it. There he is, the commissioner of the NHL, in Gary Bettman. Really do appreciate his time. We'll take a timeout. Let's get an update in first with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, Eric Hosmer will not be back for the 2024 season. The veteran first baseman announced his retirement after 13 seasons that included a championship in 2015 and 4 Gold Gloves. He is now joining the media, starting a podcast company. The number one spot in the top 25 will be open last night with UConn losing last night. Duke might not get there right now, but the Blue Devils are hot at the right time. They're in Miami after picking up their 20th win on Saturday. They've won 4 in a row and 15 of 17. Leading the way in the most recent win was Jared McCain, who had a freshman record 35. And head coach John Shire said he has grown tremendously this year.
He's wired for this. He's wired to wear a Duke uniform. He's wired for this. It's because of the way he works, and he works all the time. He has such confidence, such belief in himself.
Also tonight, number 13, Alabama tries to increase its lead in the SEC. The Crimson Tide will host number 24, Florida, and 12th-ranked Illinois faces Penn State in Rec Hall. The Nittany Lions' former home will host its first game in 10 years. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is Zach Gelb. Catch me afternoons, 3 to 6 Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific. Same great show, new and improved time. Right here on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. So each night before the show, Samter, Stu, and I, we send a bunch of clips to one another. Like you see something pop up on social media, and you go, okay, let's just put it in our Slack group, even though I don't have Slack on my phone because there's some IT problem. So there's a lot of times I'll just text Samter, and he rather prefers me to put it in Slack. But if I'm not on a computer, then I can't get to my Slack. So we'll talk to someone in IT and hopefully get me on Slack sooner rather than later. But last night, Samter sent me this link. And it was this link to Nikola Jokic speaking at All-Star Weekend. And he said, I don't want to leave Denver. If Luka gets PO'd in Dallas, he could come. And then the clip from DNVR Nuggets on Twitter said, Nikola Jokic says he'd be open to teaming up with Luka Doncic, but only on the Nuggets. So I didn't see the part where it says translated underneath it in small font and parentheses. So Samter is a practical joker from time to time. So I clicked the link and I'm ready to go, ready to listen to the 25-second audio, and it's not in English. So I'm sitting there saying, is this a prank? Or is this something that was transcribed by someone that knew how to speak the language, and then they just threw that out there? Now, one way or another, you could tell me whatever, Samter, but I was skeptical of this clip, thinking that it was real. And then I saw the company that it was coming from. I'm like, okay, that's actually a credible company. I don't think they would just put this out. But there's so much stuff now that's AI generated. Remember Brian Ferentz, the OC of Iowa, who this year a clip went viral that he went after people saying, oh, we finally scored the certain amount of points that are required. Like maybe everyone will, he said some things that obviously I can't say. And I'm like, wow, that's some fiery stuff from the OC. But this is a new way to kind of trick people. You just have a superstar speaking in their native language, and then you just put out a quote and you say, oh, this is what he said. And unless if you know the language, no one could tell you. Now, this ended up being vetted, and I know the company that put this out, so you know that they're not trying to do this. But last night, Samter, I was debating for about 5 minutes if you were just playing a practical joke on me, or if this was actually something that you were trying to be serious about for show content.
Well, I appreciate that you trust me enough that you think I'm gonna send you some Fugazi clip, but no. I mean, it made me think a lot. I sent it because it made me think a lot about them joining forces, and we talked about LeBron and Steph as far as being potentially with the Warriors and together. So it made me kind of think about like the best duos and things along those lines.
So we were in an era of super teams, and by definition, right, the way that we perceived the super team was at least three guys, 2.5 stars would kind of be it. Like Chris Bosh was always that third piece for the Miami Heat. Chris Bosh, great player, but I don't think he was viewed the same way, obviously, as we viewed a LeBron or a Dwayne Wade. Like you look at Cleveland, it was also 2.5, where Kevin Love's had a really good career, but it wasn't of the career of a LeBron James or a Kyrie Irving. But now, ever since, right, Kevin Durant left the Warriors, we haven't seen another super team in the NBA form. And I'm not anti-super team. I thought the super team era was really good, starting with the Celtics, then going with Miami, then going with Cleveland, and then the Warriors were just a super team on steroids. But now, for a while, at least the last 3 years, ever since Kevin Durant's departure, it's kind of been dynamic duos. That's what has been the big trend in the NBA. It's dynamic duos, and you could win a championship with a dynamic duo. We've seen it with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. We've seen it with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, just to name a few, in this new iteration of the NBA, or this new era of the NBA. But if you were able to get Luka with Nikola Jokic, we're talking about a dynamic duo of two of the top 5 players in the NBA. It's almost kind of like what the Lakers tried to do with LeBron and Anthony Davis, where when healthy, Anthony Davis is a top 10 player in the league. He just hasn't consistently been able to hold up his end of the bargain. But where they are from an age standpoint, and I do agree with Nikola Jokic, like he shouldn't want to leave Denver. Denver fits him very well. The Mavericks, they got to get their act together, and they've tried, but it hasn't necessarily worked consistently. but that would be a fun dynamic duo. And you could question if the styles would fit, but Nikola Jokic doesn't have an ego, and I think he enjoys passing the basketball more than scoring. So I think there's no doubt in my mind that it would fit. Like if we look at, and I was ahead of the Nuggets before a lot of people were. But if we looked at how special Jamal Murray was coming off the injury, if they could get that production from Jamal Murray teaming up with Nikola Jokic, imagine if they added Luka Doncic to that fold, even if it meant at the expense of someone like a Jamal Murray. So that would be fun. I would want to see Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. I'll give you two other dynamic duos that I would love to see. Now, both of them are later on in their career. Samter's already mentioned it. LeBron James and Steph Curry. I hope that happens this offseason. Sorry, Stu, because it would mean LeBron would be leaving the Los Angeles Lakers. But I kind of feel like, Stu, you're at a point now where you're just tired of all the drama with the Lakers. And I think there's a lot of NBA fans that are tired with all the drama right now. And it's about like everything but playing basketball. I kind of sense from Stu that you're ready to blow this thing up and start all over and really rebuild with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, I just don't see a path to anything other than maybe they make the second round of the playoffs. I think last season was their best chance at getting another title. They're not getting another title with LeBron and Anthony Davis. There's no avenue they really have. Even if they somehow trade for Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young this offseason, I don't think that's a title team.
Well, Anthony Davis would still be there, right?
Yeah.
So if you get LeBron, Donovan Mitchell, and AD,
it's good.
I don't know what the rest of the team's going to look like. That's the problem.
There's going to be nothing. That's the problem.
Yeah. And who was the other player you threw out? Trae Young?
Trae Young? I don't know. You
need a shooter, that's for sure.
Do need a shooter, but I don't know if Trae Young's like a championship caliber player. I don't know. I'm at this point where I'd rather, instead of giving up future assets, just kind of blow it up.
So I don't think this next dynamic duo that I'm going to suggest is going to be possible because Embiid's so loyal to the Sixers, and we know the connection that Leon Rose has with Jalen Brunson. And Leon Rose once represented, before he became the president of the Knicks, he represented Joel Embiid. And now you have Maxey, who's been good for the last 2 years with the Sixers. So I don't think Embiid's going to force a trade. But if he did ever, you get Embiid in New York with Jalen Brunson, that would be a really fun dynamic duo. Like, you throw that topic out 3-4 years ago, dynamic duos that you like to see in the NBA, we would take call after call after call after call, and there would be idea after idea after idea. I sat down and was like, guys, there's so many duos that are together right now, so that takes up so many spots. And it's like, okay, who could you break up to then pair together and create a new dynamic duo? And those are the three that I came up with. Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Steph Curry. And then the one that I'd be most excited about, but I don't think it will ever happen, would be Joel the Process Embiid taking the process to New York and teaming up with Jalen Brunson. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. When we come on back, Daniel Jeremiah. We're going to flip to football. He has his latest mock draft out as we get set for the Combine that gets started this weekend. And there is a big surprise, especially when it comes to the third overall pick.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I am laughing coming back from a break because the Eagles have been in the news a lot. This may be my favorite one, though. So we'll play the Craig Carden sound from FS1 in just a second. He says there's a secret reason why the Eagles fell apart. He didn't really say what the reason was, and I love Craig. Craig obviously used to be a coworker of ours. But there was some things that you could just assume when you hear the way that Craig says it. But Craig, even though he worked in Philadelphia radio for a bit and now he works for FS1. He's not plugged in on a daily basis with the Philadelphia sports scene. So we'll play that audio in just a second. But the thing that I'm laughing at right now is Derek Gunn. And Derek Gunn is a longtime Philadelphia Eagles reporter. The dude is one of the classiest people you'll ever meet. He is actually a tremendous chef. And he posts videos all the time using the smoker and barbecue and things as well. But Derek Gunn just tweeted this out. And I know with the Eagles, everyone's still trying to figure out why they collapse and why they failed. Because this team was 10-1. And when you're 10-1 and you win one lousy stinking game down the stretch, everyone's saying, what happened to this team that was in the Super Bowl last year? And what happened to this team that looked like they were going to go back to the Super Bowl and they can't even beat the Buccaneers in the first round? Lose to the Giants at the end of the season, and you had 2 close games with the Giants. The second one wasn't even close. The Giants blew them out. So there were many moments. The Cardinals that beat them, too, with Jonathan Gannon. And that was some money I won this NFL season because the spread was 12.5. Come on. Jonathan Gannon knows the Eagles. They should have never been a 12.5 point underdog. I didn't think they were going to win the game outright, but I did hammer that plus 12.5 line. So here is Gunner, Derek Gunn. According to sources, Jalen Hurts' big contract pulled in numerous directions on and off the field, put him under a lot of pressure he didn't handle well. Here is the line, though, that I find this funny. Big Dom suspended. He controls Sirianni's emotions on the sidelines. In his absence, Nick gets in numerous arguments with players and coaches during the games. Is this what we're really doing right now? And this just makes my antenna go up even more that something else happened. So the first part about this tweet is, according to sources, Jalen's big contract pulled in numerous directions on and off the field, put him under a lot of pressure he didn't handle well. Okay. So Jalen Hurts, right? You just outperformed Mahomes in the Super Bowl. You didn't win the game, but you played better than him. You were the best player on the field in that Super Bowl. You get the big contract. I can't remember, though, Jalen Hurts doing a lot of endorsements. I don't remember a lot of national endorsements for Jalen Hurts, so maybe it was a lot that were local. But you have this responsibility where for so many years, it seemed like Jalen Hurts, and this is the part that I don't like, Jalen Hurts up until last year, it was he ignores the noise, rat poison, all that stuff. He's all ball. He doesn't get caught up in really being a star like how other people do. But is that the reason why this team failed down the stretch? They started 10-1. By 10-1, he wasn't able to figure out the numerous directions he was being pulled in on and off the field. And how did it impact on the field? Did he not connect with his teammates? And I will say that I've said this before. Jalen Hurts doesn't usually show a lot of emotion publicly. Like, I asked him the first question after he punched a ticket to a Super Bowl. And he basically treated it as if it was any other game and gave you like a 5-second answer. But just because that's the way that you publicly portray yourself, that doesn't mean that's necessarily the way that you portray yourself in the locker room. So him getting pulled in numerous directions on and off the field and being put under a lot of pressure that he didn't handle well, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Now, I'm not saying Derek Gunn's not being told these things, but I wonder who the source is. And I don't know how much I buy that's the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles failed. Now, here's the second part. Samter, you've seen a lot of BS in your career, and I wish teams would just own their incompetence and just own their failures instead of just using people as excuses. So Big Dom gets into it. I'm pretty sure it was with Dre Greenlaw of the 49ers, and they had that whole kerfuffle. If we could use the word kerfuffle, I'm always going to use that word if you can't tell.
No, I think Stu's going to have to dump that one. That's a bad one.
Okay. But they get into that kerfuffle. And then Big Dom gets suspended from the sidelines until the playoff game when he was allowed back on the sidelines. So Derek Gunn, according to a source, was told that Big Dom being suspended was a big factor because he controls Sirianni's emotions on the sideline in his absence. Nick gets in numerous arguments with players and coaches during the games. I know the inner workings of the Eagles. I know Big Dom, to people in that facility, he's more than just like the director of team security. He knows where all the bodies are buried. He has all the secrets. He's a big player in the organization. But you're telling me he gets suspended, and that's why the Eagles crapped the bed down the stretch? Because Nick Sirianni couldn't keep his emotions in check without Big Dom? Big Dom couldn't keep Sirianni's emotions in check anymore? And that's why your team sucked down the stretch? Does that just sound as ridiculous as it does to me that that's the excuse being used?
It sounds ridiculous. However, being around situations where one domino falls and it could set off a cascade of other dominoes.
And the house burns down?
Like, for example, we saw like A.J. Brown seemed to be discontented, and he had to have that whole press conference just to talk about how he wasn't, but clearly he had something going on. Maybe, first game, Sirianni says something to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown flips out and then says something to Jalen Hurts. Now the locker room is fractured. Now they get into a fight at practice. Who knows if that was... I'm not saying that was the reason, but that may have been the first of many dominoes that fell that may have led to a larger, wider, more expounded kind of conflict among the team.
Now, I will say...
But it does sound like BS if you just really want to ask the question.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I wanted to make sure that you were still sane in some capacity. I know you tried to just find some way to justify something that was out there. I totally get what you were doing, and I understand what you're saying.
I would say it's like 5% likely that was a factor.
I'm just making sure that everything that you're a sane individual still, and you don't just believe everything that you get told, and I'm happy that that's the case.
I do get believed everything I'm told. That is for sure true.
You gotcha. But going off of that, I do remember two instances that were out of character for two people. And one of these people I know very well, and the other one I have great respect for. The one I have great respect for is Devontae Smith. He seems as level-headed is. And he's been on a big stage. He's been in big moments before, right? He's won a Heisman. He caught a walk-off touchdown pass in the national championship game to Tua Tagovailoa to Devontae Smith up against Georgia. We've seen what he's been able to do, skinny Bettman as they call him, in the NFL so far. He got into it with the coaching staff. That's uncharacteristic of him. Now, Hassan Reddick, I personally know. I knew Hassan Reddick when he was a walk-on at Temple. I got him his first autograph deal when he became professional. I don't usually see Hassan Reddick going at it with the coaches. And even he was going at it with the coaches. And both of that happened in a win the first time they did go up against the Giants. So maybe Big Dom played a factor, but you can't tell me that's why the team collapsed. And the reason why you can't say it is because your head football coach, who really doesn't do much, he doesn't call the plays on offense. He's not a defensive-minded head coach. He had to keep that locker room in order. So you lose Big Dom, who is the director of team security, and he counts all the players as they walk into the locker room before they do the big speeches. I've seen it 9,000 times before. He picks the players up from the airport. If anything ever happens, Big Dom is right there, helps the players out. You're telling me, basically, the team babysitter, he gets suspended and can't be on the sideline during game day, so the coach can't even keep his locker room and his sideline in order? And that's all he's asked to do? If anything, you know what, Samter, I actually hope the Big Dom report is true. You want to know why? Because it just shows how in over his head, even with going to the playoffs 3 years and having this team in a Super Bowl a year ago, how in over his head Nick Sirianni has gotten. And it's amazing that they've been able to have success to some levels with him as the head coach. But if this is now what we're doing, that your quarterback, because he's getting pulled in different directions, couldn't connect with the team anymore, and since the director of team security got pulled away because of something that happened on your sideline, you can't keep order on your sideline? I'll ask what he was asked at his press conference when they brought back Sirianni. Well, then what the heck do you do? What does Nick Sirianni do? You have Belichick out there, you have Vrabel out there, you have Pete Carroll out there. All three of those guys right now would be better equipped to manage an NFL team in 2024 than Nick Sirianni. Here is Craig Carden on the Carden Show. He says there's a secret reason why the Eagles fell apart this year. Ooh.
What do you know about what happened last season, and why won't you tell us?
I can tell you that it is a problem that would splinter any group of men. It is a real significant problem.
Yeah, I know it is.
It cannot be fixed.
Women. Oh,
I'm not going to say any more than that. But
it's women.
I know what the problem was. I know they're trying to fix it.
Big Tom can't fix it?
I don't think it can be fixed. So it would be very interesting to see if a high-profile player is no longer with the Eagles going into this season.
So that was my first assumption, too. Did someone sleep with someone's girl? Now, the other thing that would be something that would ruin a relationship with men is, let's say it's something financial. And I'll just now, and I know the Creighton report came first, but now with the whole Derek Gunn report, where he said that he was getting, Jalen Hurts getting pulled in many different directions, maybe something happened financially with Jalen Hurts and another player. Maybe Jalen Hurts was to go somewhere with another player, make money off it, and then Jalen Hurts bailed because he got pulled in a different direction. Maybe that's what it was. But either way, none of this should derail a football season. Now, you're sleeping with someone else's girl. That could derail a football season if it's a quarterback and the star wide receiver. But this is ugly for the Eagles. And I know there's not a lot to talk about this time of the year, and that's when sometimes these stories come out. But we still don't know why this team crapped the bed down the stretch. And I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to recover from it. Like, they may make the playoffs next year. You know, they could win a division next year. But I don't think we're going to look at the Eagles and say, okay, they're back to Super Bowl contending form. I was reading Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft that he released right before the Combine. Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. No surprise. Drake May, number 2 overall pick. No surprise. The third pick is not a quarterback. I'll get to that in just a second. But before we do that, let's just circle back because I want to play. I forgot to do this. This is Adam Schefter on the John Kincaid Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, responding. We'll give you the other side of this to the Craig Creighton report that we just played for you.
I don't even know if the National Enquirer would write something like that. And by the way, I texted somebody in the organization yesterday. I'm like, what is this? And the text back, the quote was, none of that S word happened. None of that S happened. And that's what qualifies, as a reporter. You can just go say whatever you want, and it gets clicks, and people hear about it. Was somebody with another player's woman, or who knows? Who knows? I'm just telling you, somebody in the organization, was pretty adamant yesterday. None of that happened. Was somebody sleeping with somebody else's woman? Maybe. I don't know.
So, of course the Eagles are going to deny this stuff. I'm not saying that means it didn't happen, but even if it didn't happen, or even if it did happen, would the Eagles ever admit it? No, they wouldn't. So
the thing that caught me was Schefter being like, did it happen? Maybe. I don't
that
know.
Was the way, because it seemed like he was denying it the whole way, and then at the end it was, did someone sleep with someone's woman? That's a pretty big nugget to drop. Maybe. He didn't totally rule it out.
Did not rule it out.
But the source told him none of that S happened.
But the source clearly has an agenda.
Oh, it's with the team, obviously.
Of course.
So, geez. This Eagles offseason, I don't know if there's anything that they could do that would make people buy back in on this team. The only thing that I think would get the Eagle fan excited, and I don't even know if this would be a smart decision because he's injury prone, is if they pluck Saquon Barkley from the Giants. Because Saquon's not going to be back with the Giants. I would be shocked. Maybe the Cowboys try to do the same. Maybe the Eagles do the same as well. I think that may be the only thing that would bring genuine excitement to this organization and this fan base, because they don't need a wide receiver, assuming A.J. Brown's on the team. You have A.J. Brown and you have Devontae Smith.
That feels like the big question mark for me.
I think he's going to be on the team next year. I do.
And listen, we don't know what really happened. We don't know if it was a plethora of things or if it was a singular thing. But it did feel like as the season was coming to a close that a lot of the attention was on something going on with A.J. Brown.
You know what?
Maybe just discontent. Maybe it was something else. I don't know. But if he's gone, I wouldn't be shocked. It felt to me that towards the end, that was kind of him saying goodbye.
Now, you could go down the cesspool and the rabbit hole that is Reddit. There's some thread out there that claims that my net worth is $4 million a year. And then there's some other site.
It's not even close. You're at least triple that.
You jackass. And then there's some other site that says I make $30,000 a year. So neither are true.
No, that's
way
minus
too
Duke's
low.
combined salaries.
All I'll say is way too low, way too high. But remember this past the summer, there was some speculation about maybe something similar going on with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. It seems like this is just the in-season story of what the Bills were in the offseason playing out with the Philadelphia Eagles. And no one has any clue why Stephon Diggs was so mad last offseason and why A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are so mad during this season. Look what happened with the Bills, though. They played poorly, then they got back to a spot of competence, and they almost beat the Chiefs, but they didn't get the job done. So, like, for the Eagles next year, I think there's going to be a lot of up and down where they'll at one time be a good team, and you can look at them as a solid team, but I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl or be in the Super Bowl next year. By the way, on Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, we'll take a break, but it's Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2. He had Marvin Harrison Jr. going 3. So the Pats passing on a quarterback, taking Marvin Harrison Jr., which I'd be fine with. Then he had Malik Neighbors going 4 to the Cardinals, Joe Alt going 5 to the Chargers, Jaden Daniels landing in the Big Apple with the New York Football Giants. We'll react more to that coming up in a few moments. He also had J.J. McCarthy in at number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. Bears end up getting a wide receiver, Roma Dunze, in at number 9. So how about that? There's some nuggets there. We'll react towards it about it towards the end of the show. But when we come on back, it is Winkler Wednesdays. The commissioner of the NHL, since he was supposed to join us at 5 p.m. Eastern, and he had to change a little schedule change at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, we said to Bart, hey, can we bump you till 5:20 p.m. Eastern? When Samter first told Bart about this, he was like, well, who am I getting bumped for? And then we told him it was Gary Bettman, and Bart was like, okay, I can understand on that one. So I'm glad that we've been able to continue to have a good relationship with at least the host of the Bart Winkler Show on CBS Sports Radio, the great Bart Winkler. He will join us on a Winkler Wednesday on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's a battle for CBS Sports Radio. Zach.
Lethargic, putrid, pathetic. Quitters. They're quitters. What a joke.
Bart.
Something fun to talk about. That's what we do here. It's like, hey, guys, it's like we're just hanging out at a bar talking sports.
It's time for Winkler Wednesday. Only on the Zach Gelb Show.
That's right. Winkler Wednesday right here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And I appreciate one of my favorite people in this business, the great Bart Winkler, for being flexible today. I know he doesn't look flexible, but Samter asked if we could move him back a little bit because we had the commissioner coming on, Gary Bettman, at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, and Bart said, I'm a company guy, and I always will do what's best for the company, and Bart said I could do 5:20 p.m. Eastern. So thank you, Bart.
Yeah, I like that you're like people care. like anyone tuned in 40 minutes ago and was like, it's Winkler Wednesday. Where is he? No one cares, but I'm happy to do it.
I actually got 4 DMs, and I had people cursing me out saying I'll never be allowed back at fourth base ever again, and I'll never be able to get steak at Carnivore because I pushed back Winkler Wednesday by like 40 minutes or something like that.
You know, and if we're going to do some behind-the-scenes kind of chatter here, I also want to tell you that when you text me each Wednesday about what to talk about, I don't read. I just hit thumbs up. I don't care what you ask me.
So. Oh, that's good. So maybe I'll just start sending you like pictures of Samter and Stu, you know, because they're always best friends.
I would prefer that. I would like that better.
Okay. You got it. Bart Winkler here with us. What, did you pregame this segment? Just wondering.
Did I pregame? Yeah. Yes, I did.
Yeah, some whiskey?
No, I had nature's endorphins. I went for a walk.
So puff, puff, pass is what you're telling me?
No. I got to work tonight.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I don't think that's ever stopped you before. Like, let's be real. You went to a night of celebration after the Bucks won the finals, and I've seen the photos of you shirtless, drunk as a skunk, getting a few hours of sleep before you did a radio show.
Yeah, I did celebrate after the Bucks won a title, and then had to do a morning show the next day at 6 a.m. No, I think we went on at 5 a.m. But actually, that's different because that just shows I'm one of the people.
Yeah, that is true. You're a man's man. You're an everyday man.
If I drink before a national show, then I'm just a drunk.
Yeah, that's true. There used to be a saying around here. called a hard hat guy. You are the definition of a hard hat guy here at CBS Sports Radio. Bart Winkler here with us. What's been your reaction to this Doc Rivers, J.J. Redick, now Austin Rivers, Pat Bev beef? Because this one, I have a take on it, but let me hear yours first.
Well, I'll tell you, too, as a noted Bucks fan that I am, when they traded for Damian Lillard, I thought, wow, this is going to be such a fun season. Because when they won the title a couple of years ago, and then it was kind of just going through the motions the next 2 years. Okay, get to the playoffs and then see what happens. And there's been injuries, and they have not met expectations. So I thought that this year would be another year like that, where, okay, they'll win 4 out of every 5 games, they'll make the playoffs, and then that's when the season will start. But they trade for Dame, and it's super exciting. This has turned out to be maybe the most excruciating year as a Bucks fan in a long time. And we've had 15-win seasons like every other year for a while, but there's just so much weird drama. And then our fans, I'm telling you, if there's anybody that loves the Bucks, it's me. But if there's anybody that hates Bucks fans, it's also me. These people, for the most part, are children that do not remember when the Bucks were bad. Like, if you started rooting for the Bucks after Giannis got here, don't associate yourself with me. I don't want to hear from you. You don't understand how bad it used to be. So every time, like, oh, there was a TikTok and Damian Lillard didn't say Giannis was a top 5. And now you've got all this Doc stuff. And the Doc stuff, I think, is the worst of it all because it's all unforced errors.
Well, here's the other thing with the Doc stuff. He seems like, I know he doesn't take accountability. That's fine in saying that. J.J. Redick saying that is fine. J.J. will never, though, slam James Harden, or he'll never slam Paul George, who threw Doc under the bus and didn't take accountability for their shortcomings in Philadelphia and then also in Los Angeles. But the thing with the whole Doc Rivers thing that would make me crazy if I were a Bucks fan is that he just openly said to SiriusXM, oh, well, when they called me and told me they wanted to make me the new head coach of the team, I was like, why? Why would you do this in season? Like, why would you admit that? We've already are past the point where people don't like your hiring, and now it seems like he's panicking because it hasn't got off to a good start, and people are just trashing him nationally and locally.
Well, I actually related to that because when they offered me the late night gig, I was like, why are you doing
calling me?
Why are you making this massive mistake?
Yeah.
Yeah, but with Doc, it's all like he is saying this stuff that he doesn't need to say. Why are you saying any of this? He is volunteering this information. Yeah, you had a road trip and it was hard and you're trying to get used. Like, if you're 3-7 with a new team, no matter who's on the team, you're going to be like, people are going to say, okay, they're getting legs under them, no big deal. But he's coming out and saying, why am I here? What do you want me for? This is really hard. Like, Doc Rivers has been in the game for a long time, and he's an easy target because he's been in the game for a long time. He's had a lot of high, well-known failures. So for him to then volunteer this information, it's really weird. It's like there's already a target and there's already a bullseye, and he's being like, did everybody get their shot? Did you get your shot at me? Here, I'll tell you something that makes me even look worse. And then you can, it just doesn't make any sense. He is the head coach of a team with Dame and Giannis. What are you complaining about?
So now back to the JJ part. I thought JJ, and I can't stand JJ Redick, I thought he initially won, but then today he just totally ruined it where he's like, oh, I'll go break down basketball things, and it will only get 54,000 views on YouTube, but then I come and say on ESPN's First Take, right, the #1 show, something about Doc Rivers slamming him, and I can't believe how many more views it did. Like, no crap. My problem with J.J. Redick, I just think he's the definition of pretentious, and he just comes off as I'm above the fans and I'm greater than the fans, and I talk a different language because I played the game. He just annoys me, and can he get on First Take one time, and can he just smile? Like, you don't need the money. You don't need to be doing this. Just smile one time. He looks so angry. I can't stand the dude. And now the fact that Doc Rivers is coaching the Bucks, it means he's going to be in the broadcast booth with Mike Breen for all the big playoff games in the NBA Finals. And I'm going to want to just punch my TV set because J.J. Redick's going to be on it.
he is benefiting from this.
He's
Doc
a
Rivers
douche.
thing.
That's what he is, Bart. He's a douche.
Well, I won't go that far. I'm not trying to make any enemies. Other than I've made enough enemies.
JJ Redick already hates you. You don't even know it. I don't know if
No,
he likes
you're
anyone.
probably right. He hated his time in Milwaukee. He was in Milwaukee for like 6 weeks, and it was like the worst time in his life because all these people come to Milwaukee and they just Milwaukee sucks if you're a pro basketball player and you live in your hotel and never explore the city.
I love
it's
Milwaukee.
the month of February where it's cold. But also, newsflash, winter's already over in Milwaukee. It's 60 degrees today.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, Milwauke's like the Great Lakes
Destination.
region. Yeah, once climate change, now that climate change is here and has completely changed everybody's weather patterns, Milwaukee's like a place to be. It's 60 degrees. It's going to be 70 next week.
Now, how about that? I'm going to Orlando tomorrow. It's not supposed to be 70. So maybe I should have made the vacation spot to Milwaukee. Bart Winkler here with us, wrapping up Winkler Wednesday. So the college football playoff, they finalized the format where we knew it was going to 12. Now with the Pac-12 basically going away, it's going to be 5 automatic bids to the highest ranked conference champs, and then the other 7 will make up the 12-team college football playoff. You have the incompetent Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti. According to Dennis Dodd, he's going to be advocating to eventually move this to 16 because I think this only guaranteed the 12-team format for 2 years, and then maybe it will expand after that. I hate going to 12, and I hate going to 16 eventually even more. Where are you at with the college football playoff expansion? You're running college football. What would you have expanded it to?
I like 12. I think 12, I want to see a year of 12. I think it is going to make the regular season better, which is the main complaint from a lot of people. Because when you have 4 teams, every regular season game matters, right? But not really. The game that I keep thinking of, it was like week 10 or 11 of the college football season this year. And it was that CBS 3:30, the big game, the big SEC game, right? And it was a big game. No one cared about it. It was number 12 Missouri and number 13 Tennessee. Nobody cared. Those kind of games will have more importance under this new format.
Yeah, but here's the 12's too much because I think it does water down the regular season. Like what you're saying, I totally disagree with.
This is like everybody that thinks that way, I'm telling you.
But Bart,
come back in a year and you will like it. I promise.
What about 6? What about 8? I thought that I understand if we had to expand this. But to go from 4 to 12 is too drastic of a jump. And then we're already talking about 2 years from now, this being 16. That just seems like too many.
That's too much.
Now, like Michigan and Ohio State, I know that always means something. But when it's win and you're in, that's awesome. So if you get to 6 or 8, there's still some insurance. I just think it gives too much insurance where a team like Penn State, who had no right being in the playoff this year, would have got in the playoff if they had this new format a season ago.
Well, you're going to play for a bye in that game. I know everyone likes to bring up that game, but you'll be playing for a bye.
Good point.
I agree 16's too much. I think 4 was too little, which the dumbest thing that college football ever did was have 5 power conferences get together and say, 4's good. Can you guys not count? You're gonna miss one of your conferences every year. That was stupid. But I do think I think this will be better. I think the bye part of it is going to be good. Also, conference championship weekends are going to mean more because I'm telling you, I think the ACC and Big 12 might be one bid leagues. I think a lot of these at-larges are coming from the Big 10 and then the Big or the SEC. Look at the Big 10. Michigan this year has Texas, USC, Ohio State, and Oregon all on their schedule. Are they even gonna make the playoff? But if they go 9-3, they'll get an at-large bid over a 11-1
the 4-loss Big 10 SEC team against the 2-loss ACC Big 12 team is going to be the argument. And in this Dennis Dodd article, they already talked about how we all know that even though there's 4 power conferences, the 2 people that are sitting at the head of the table in the same seat are the SEC and the Big 10, and they're going to want automatic bids in the future, automatic spots, not just, the conference champion gets in. So, yeah, in all likelihood, it's going to be filled with Big 10 and SEC.
They won't need those. It'll already be heavily weighted to the Big Ten and SEC. I think that this year is going to be enjoyable, whether it's the perfect way to do it. We can debate about that, but I don't like that they're already thinking of ways to change it when we haven't even seen what this is. So I would implore everybody, give this year a shot. I'm very much looking forward to it.
And that's why 6 or 8 would have been better, because they're greedy. Money's always going to win. And when you go from the drastic jump of 4 to 12, they're just going to keep on expanding this thing. And I just would have liked to have hold off a little bit on the crazy numbers that we're talking about.
But then still, there's 133 teams. There's only still like 5% of the teams making it.
Yeah, but so many of these teams don't matter. And I understand people who say, but that's my point. I went to Temple University. I was at Temple when they had their best 3 or 4 stretch for college football. When they won their conference, they didn't get a New Year's Six invite because there was another school that was better. Years later now in the NIL era, if you're not in the 4 best conferences, you really don't have that much of a leg to stand on outside of Notre Dame, or you end up being one of these schools like a Cincinnati that finally gets into the system or something like that. So I think there's so many schools that are participating that they're kind of, unfortunately, I hate to say this because it's my alma mater, it's it feels like they're a waste of a program now in this new name, image, and likeness and transfer portal era, because you can't really develop talent anymore, because the moment you develop someone that looks like they're going to be good, they hit the transfer portal and they get paid a tremendous amount of money.
What do you think the new Pac-12 commissioner is going to do day to day? She's going to sit in her office and play solitaire? What kind of job is that?
Yeah. You're managing basically 2 schools. It was like you when you didn't have a job until they brought you back here at CBS Sports Radio.
She's going to start a podcast from her basement?
Yeah, with the piano in the background. What happened to the piano, Bart?
Oh, I had to sell it. We were on tough times.
Okay, you got it. Here he is, Bart Winkler right there. Make sure you catch him tonight, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. And you're filling in for me on Friday, right? Right here on the show, right? I get that information correct?
Hey, news to me, but I'll be there.
Okay. Maybe you should check your text messages once in a while and actually read them. So there he is, Bart Winkler. Winkler Wednesday's always fun here on CBS Sports Radio. And there is someone that cared that we moved the time back of Bart. E. Mueller on Twitter tweeted to me, I cared, Bart Winkler Show, at Zach Gelb. We'll come on back. We'll do a little mock draft from Daniel Jeremiah. And we'll also play you something from Kevin Durant, which I just find funny. Update time first. Here is Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Yesterday we found out the format for the college football playoff for the next 2 years. According to reports, it could expand after that, but the idea for a 14-team playoff was discussed today. Eric Hosmer won a World Series with the Royals in 2015. The high point of his career, the veteran first baseman announced his retirement today. He played 13 seasons with the Royals, Padres, Red Sox, and Cubs, and won 4 Gold Gloves. Illinois goes for its 5th straight 20-win season tonight. The 12th-ranked Fighting Illini will face Penn State in a unique setting. The game will be played at the Old Rec Hall, Penn State's old home, and tonight marks the first game there since 2015. Head coach Brad Underwood said it'll certainly give the home team a lift.
Now we get a Penn State team that we're moving into Rec Hall to play this game, something I know very little about other than it's small and quaint, and I'm sure will help provide a very good home court advantage from a fan's perspective in there.
Number 7 Marquette will host 3 and 22 DePaul, while 8th-ranked Duke goes for his 5th straight. The Blue Devils are in Miami. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is JR. Let's hang out weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio for my show, the JR Sport Brief, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Chris in Alabama. You know what? Can we change this guy's name? I'm going to change his name. Let's just go Chuck in Alabama. Do you think Kevin Durant is a leader? The reason why I wanted to change that to Chuck is because the great Charles Barkley once said that Kevin Durant is the passenger on the bus. He's a bus rider, not a bus driver. You can submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. You can think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let me play you Kevin Durant on the boardroom/Bleacher Report when asked if he is a leader.
Why do you think people in the media think you're not a good leader? I'm not as charismatic as my peers. I don't have a personality that's like fit for TV. And a lot of those stories of what we talk about don't get spoken about in the media. You gotta sell what you're doing as well. And I haven't sold it enough. I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel like I want people to call me a leader, but I also don't want people to say I'm not one either, because they don't see what goes on behind the scenes or what I talk about or my intentions. But when guys like that say that, I just got to chalk it up to them just not being aware, push a narrative for myself, expose the truth on how great of a leader I am. I don't feel like it's necessary. I just chalk it up to those guys not being aware of who I am.
It's like it's almost as if it's a greater power of thinking. Like we can't be aware that Kevin Durant isn't a leader, and how dare we say that? The guy isn't a leader. All right, in OKC, you could say he was a leader. Then he made the decision. He wanted to be a villain. I was fine with it. I didn't freak out like others. He had that right. He goes to Golden State. But then he was sensitive to the criticism. So he says, I want to be the leader in Brooklyn. He picked Kyrie Irving. Real leadership would have been saying to Kyrie Irving, you're rooting what we're doing here. He didn't have the guts to do that. And then he demanded a trade and eventually through time got traded to the Suns, who the Suns don't appear to be like they're going to be a great team this year with how it's playing out. Like, I don't see, you could be a great player and not be a great leader. Kevin Durant is an all-time great player. But there's no way that you could say he's a great leader. Because if he was a great leader, he would have found a way to rectify the situation between James Harden and Kyrie Irving. He couldn't. And James Harden, say what you want about it, I've been extremely critical of James Harden. He was actually right to get out of there because he knew Kyrie Irving wasn't going to work. That was the moment where Kevin Durant needed to say to Kyrie, we're going to pick James over you. So you either get along with James or you're going to get traded from this team. But when he has run the team, and he ran the team in Brooklyn, they were an unmitigated disaster. Outside of his foot, which he had great toughness, outside of his foot being on the line, which prevented the three-pointer, made it a two-pointer, outside of that little run, there was nothing ever positive, and they ended up losing that series anyway. But there was nothing positive, really, with Kevin Durant with the Brooklyn Nets. Samter, can you say that Kevin Durant's a good leader? Like, great player, but I can't call this guy a good leader.
I mean, on the outside looking in, you're right. No, it doesn't seem like he's a good leader. However, guys lead in different ways, right? There are vocal leaders, there are leaders on the court, and then there's just like leaders who just kind of like, they know how their locker room behaves, and they just work the locker room the right way. Mm-hmm. He's been on winning teams. He's been on championship teams. Obviously, the Warriors were a set roster before he got there, but I mean, the Thunder were good when they were young.
Yeah.
He's always had winning teams. There's always, there always seems to be like an injury or some other issue, but like, how can
you know what screwed him?
How hard is it to be, how easy to be a leader when Kyrie Irving's on your team?
But here's the thing.
Diminishes everything.
Who picked Kyrie Irving?
Yeah,
it was him.
But that doesn't diminish him being a leader. It just kind of diminishes his decision-making ability as far as like a GM.
You will agree, though, that was his team in Brooklyn, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he could have said when Kyrie was doing all of his crap, knock it off or we're going to get rid of you. And since he didn't do that, James Harden, who was actually in the right, and you got to remember, there's a lot to criticize James Harden about, he did everything that Kyrie wanted when he first got there. He said, okay, Kyrie, you want to shoot more? I'll play the point guard role. I'll dish you the basketball. That's fine. There were people who were talking about James Harden for a little bit being the MVP of that team, just to refresh some people's memory. But him just being afraid to speak up publicly and behind the scenes just letting this continue to just go and go and go is a bad leader. Now, don't get me wrong. There's different forms of leadership. In terms of I'll put the team on my back, I'll carry us and play through injury, can't question him there. But in terms of connecting with the other teammates and having to be uncomfortable and doing something when you'll get some pushback from your friend in Kyrie, he didn't have the cojones to do that. And fair enough, Durant turned into a villain in the sport. And I said this all the time. Should have never left Golden State. He should have just embraced, I'll go win 2 or 3 more championships. I'll give the middle finger to everybody. And you can't keep on discrediting my titles if I keep on winning. But him leaving and then failing in Brooklyn and not looking like he's going to win a championship with the Suns gives everyone a leg to stand on and say, see, Charles Barkley was right. You're really, even though you're an all-time great player, you are not the driver of the bus. You're a passenger of the
And the fact that the Warriors won a title before him and after him, right? Had they not won a title after he left, maybe, you can still make that argument. But the fact also that Steph and Clay and the rest of the Warriors chose Draymond basically over KD is another example. I don't know if that's an example of leadership or just an example maybe of how he doesn't connect with his teammates as well. But he does definitely seem to have deficiencies in that area.
So let's just say the NFL draft real quickly. Let's just say it stays and there's no trades inside the top 10, which is a tough parameter. Bears at 1, Commanders 2, Patriots 3, Cardinals 4, Chargers 5, Giants 6, Tennessee 7, Atlanta 8, Chicago 9, the Jets 10. That's the top 10 order right now. J.J. McCarthy, just give me a yes or no around the room. Not should, because I don't think he should be a top 10 pick. But will he be a top 10 pick? Because Daniel Jeremiah, who's pretty good with these things, he is predicting him right now to be the 8th overall pick of the Atlanta Falcons. Stu, yes or no, will J.J. McCarthy be a top 10 pick?
Will not be a top 10 pick.
Samter?
Agreed. No.
Yeah, we're all in on J.J. McCarthy not being a top 10 pick. But Daniel Jeremiah has him at 8.
Well, I think part of it is, like, if the 3 guys go 1, 2, 3 as expected.
Which he doesn't have in this draft.
Right. So that impacts things. But if you have those 3 guys go 1, 2, 3, the Giants, the Titans, and the Falcons all could. If the Falcons don't get Fields or Cousins, they're drafting a quarterback.
Tennessee won't, though, because of Will Levis. They have too many other needs, and Will Levis showed enough that he should be the guy.
Maybe.
Now, if one of those guys in the top 3 falls to 7, maybe it changes it, but I'd be surprised if Tennessee takes a quarterback.
And you can see a team like the Raiders or Denver moving up into the top 10 if they really like JJ to try to get him. So I don't think so, but I could see it.
I think you just ended Stu. Stu gave you the dirtiest look when that happened. Oh, you were on camera for that. Good.
I was, yeah.
I don't know if it picked it up, but Stu gave you the hardest eye roll right there when you said J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders. You're a troll. You become a troll. You have. Anyway.
I mean, look at that Chiefs hat behind you. Go Chiefs Kingdom, baby.
Yeah, even the commissioner said we got to get rid of that Chiefs hat, so that's what we'll do. And you haven't got your tramp stamp yet of Mike Pennell, so until you do that, you can't root for the Chiefs. Anyway, I'd be fine if Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick for the Patriots at 3. I think it's going to end up being Jaden Daniels. I don't think McCarthy will go in the top 10. All righty, I am off the next 2 days. Big thanks to everyone today. Gary Bettman, Dwight Freeney, Bart Winkler, and Greg McDermott. We'll talk to you all on Monday. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.